with.
Mm-hmm.
Also part of Women's Health and Hormones through UCSF. That's a network of, I think, about 800 providers that are both physicians and psychologists and MSTs and social workers. And, that always comes up on the listserv there too. And I think in the Northern California is about 500 or 600 people. And then there's the CAMFT, so California MFT Association. And again, these questions come up in every listserv, so I reviewed all those emails. In terms of Facebook invite only, I mean, I have a professional presence on Facebook, but I don't particularly love Facebook, so I did not use that as a resource.
Okay. No, it's just helpful to get a sense of how you did your homework and how you kind of come to get your answers. And kind of taking a step back, one of the questions that we're having is sort of how many people would actually buy this product. And so do you have a sense of how many people are in your specialty or more broadly and or maybe where we could go find that information as well?
Yeah. I feel like more and more people are transitioning to this. How I would find out how many people. And
not necessarily how many people are customers of the product, but more how many how many other psychotherapists are there that kind of are in either your field or in sort of an overarching segment. I'm forgive my terminology. I'm the layman here, but
so like just in general, how many?
Yep.
So wait, I was thinking about two different things. So in terms of how many therapists are there in general in my area, or how many therapists in my area are using electronic health records?
The former.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I would, I don't know how to, I guess I would call CAMP to figure that out. I honestly don't know. That's California Marriage, Marriage and Family Therapist Association. Or the APA, American Psychological Association. So one other thing APA, American Psychological Association. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I also talked to other psychiatrists, and another psychiatrist I talked with had used Valent, also hated it because of the cost and just the clunkiness of it, and doesn't do electronic health records anymore. But I do feel like people in my field and even collaborators like dietitians and things are starting to use more. So it's still an area, but I do feel like simple practice is very strong, at least among my peers.
Okay, cool. Very helpful. Just taking in time through my questions here to make sure. And, any commentary about, obviously from the doctor side or from the medical provider side, can understand that it's highly recommended. How about from the patient side? Any commentary that you'd have about patients love it, or, patients are fine, or, no commentary at all?
I mean, I don't think they care too much about the electronic health. What they care about, what I hear, is like the ability to get their insurance paperwork for reimbursement. So they like that. The only downside is sometimes people forget their password, but that's really easy to remedy. Otherwise, I don't think they really mind so much. I mean, I think it helps overall with my practice because I can access, let's say the physician faxed over the recent, blood vitals and so forth. So I could access that on my phone. Whereas if I had a paper file, I'd be, you have to wait until Thursday when I'm back at that office. So I think that's a benefit they may not recognize.
Cool. Awesome. And so I'm just looking through here. So I guess the, understanding the limitation here because, you evaluated these a while back. We're would love to ask you just sort of on a 1 to 10 basis, you're feeling 10 being the best, sort of your sentiment on different parts of each provider, whether it's price, the product functionality for you, or and then, as related to that, the user experience or user interface. And so understanding the limitations you have, because it's been a while, it sounds like you worked with Valent. You also evaluated, what was it, Theranos? And then ultimately Simple Practice. So I'd just be curious, in terms of price on a 1 to 10 basis, 10 being best, how would you kind of rank the three? It sounded like Valent's pretty bad and Simple Practice is good, but I wasn't sure if there was sort of
From what I recall, I believe the other one, the Therapy Notes, was comparable to Simple Practice. Might have been slightly cheaper, but I thought that it was just so cookie cut. Like, it just didn't feel professional to me at the time. So I didn't, I felt like paying a little bit more for something that just seemed like they had it more together was worth it.
Okay. And so, in terms of pricing, is
the number.
Let's say Simple Practice, is it a is it a 7? Is it a 9? Is it a 5 kind of thing?
Yeah, I put it at like 8 or 9. Simple Practice is like 8 or 9. I'd 8-ish for Theranos, and then Valent I'd put like, I'd probably rank that like 6. I mean, because I do offer a lot. It's just not what I need.
Yeah, I gotcha. And when you think about sort of the functionality of the product, of each product, it sounds like Valent's probably the highest. So would that be sort of a 9, 8 to 10 kind of rating for that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Theranos is probably lower because it didn't have as much functionality.
From what I remember, I'd maybe put that at like a 6-ish, and then Simple Practice I think is also an 8 or a 9.
Okay.
For me.
Yep. And then the user experience or user interface, how it feels. It sounds like Valent wasn't great, neither was Theranos, but Simple Practice was pretty high. Is that kind of good characterization?
Yeah, Simple Practice definitely a 10. Valent like 7, and I'd say 6 for the other one.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. I'm just looking through my question list here, Bridget, just to make sure that we've covered everything that we needed to cover. Yep. In terms of when you switched to Simple Practice, how was the onboarding experience?
I think time intensive, but that would be with anything, and it felt much easier than when I did Valent, for sure. Lots of great supportive videos, and again, responsive support when you needed it or when I needed it. So I think the biggest thing is just time, because it's like scanning all these documents. It's just, but that would be with anything. I thought it was a fairly smooth transition, considering.
Yeah, got it. And when you think about stickiness in terms of kind of, how difficult would it be for a new product to come in and say, hey, Bridget, we have an awesome product. Do you want to consider it? It sounds like, is that something that you would consider, or would there be a pretty high bar for that?
For me, it would be a high bar, because that would require time, right, to transition everything. So it would have to be pretty attractive in terms of what it offered, and then support in the transition. So because I'm pretty happy with Simple Practice. So it would have to be good in terms of price and also offerings. Yeah.
So let's just pretend in Simple Practice is, in my understanding, Simple Practice is probably $40 to $50 a month kind of range.
Yeah.
So if they, if they said, hey,